Well, we were all devastated yesterday to learn of the death of our friend and our colleague here at BBC Radio Wales, Alan Thompson, a familiar name and voice, of course, to all of you, I'm sure, listening this morning. He was a fixture here at the station since 1991 and died yesterday afternoon after a short illness. He was only 54 and was known here for, well, as much for what he brought to life outside the studio as to what he brought to the airwaves, but his love of music, his infectious sense of humour, two things that have been remembered by many over the past hours. And two people waiting to speak to us now will recall all of that. Rob Brydon, who worked with Al on the seminal Radio 5 programme Rave in the early 90s, and also on the line is James Dean Bradfield from the Manic Street Preachers, who'd appeared on Alan's show countless times. Morning to both of you.
Hello.
James, how did Alan touch the Manics?
Well, kind of, we've been around for a while, and we've been into his various different shows down the years many a time, and mostly now, he was part of my Sunday evening routine, just like one of those radio presenters that really, broadcasters that really establishes a relationship with the listener, and I just gutted because I'd be listening to him every late Sunday evening. And I'd always listen to his slots, the Welsh way beats, never sold a copy. Just a kind of, little genius at kind of like creating those spots where you wanted to hear the same feature every week, which is always the secret of radio, people that establish relationships with people in their houses, in their cars, at their work, at their workplace, wherever. And and on the level of just being a listener, it's a massive loss.
James, I always got the impression with Al that he was different from many radio presenters. We all like music. We love music. But Alan really understood music with a series that I Write the Songs, where he was interested, fascinated by the structure of a song and how it was written. Is that something that came across to you?
Yeah, especially when you met him face-to-face. I would mostly talk about him as a broadcaster, but you're definitely right in terms of as just a normal person that liked music. When you met him face-to-face, he definitely understood the dynamic of making music, and kind of one of those people that you could tell when he really liked something, and then when he was talking about one of your new records, you could tell when he didn't like it so much, which is kind of cool. It's nice to have a barometer around that you trust sometimes, And so kind of like he understood the dynamic of how people make music, the ebb and flow of sometimes what you do is the best you can give, and then other times, everything is great. He understood all those things of what it's like to be a musician, and kind of like, I suppose the perils and the joy of sometimes being your best, and sometimes it not being quite good enough. And you could tell in his face sometimes. You'd be like, yeah, this one is good. But it's not as good as the last one.
That word, James, authenticity, that's what you got as a listener, wasn't it?
Yeah, I get just warmth, like I said, and also just that willingness to join in the routine with him every week. Like I said, is obviously the show I've been listening to before his passing was the Sunday evening show. And many a time I'd be driving up the valley to see my dad, and I kind of like wasn't only looking forward to going to see my dad late on a Sunday evening. I was looking forward to listening to him as well. Like I said, his regular spots like the Welsh way beat and Never Sold a Copy, his favourite album spot, just. People may think that those kind of things are quite trivial, but when you get into the routine of listening to somebody's show every week, they become quite important to you. Whether it be, Danny Kelly's cult European footballer spot on a Sunday, or whether it be Pop Master, or whether it be The Chain on Six Music, and on Radio Wales, it was Al doing his regular spots on a Sunday evening where you do these quite train spotty facts, which is quite nice. He still kept his foot in that area of being a musical train spotter, which is really cool. And just that warmth came through, and you wanted to listen to him every Sunday evening. It was kind of more than comfort. It was just something you always thought he'd play something new that was cool, or you'd play something old that you hadn't heard for like 2 decades.
Yeah, my Spotify playlists are full of songs that I'd never heard until Alan played them, or that I'd forgotten that I'd heard until Alan played them. And I think of him, and always have done every time one of them pops up on the playlist.